Hi, my name's Emma Swift and I'm the Trust-wide Subject Lead for a multi-academy trust, which means that I support 34 schools, primaries and secondaries, helping teachers teach science better. I've been a science teacher for 20 years and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I got interested in STEM. When I was at school, I found some bits of English quite difficult. I was very quick at reading and I find spelling really difficult. And I didn't know until I was 18 that the reason I found English so difficult at school was because I was dyslexic. So when working through school, some subjects were just easier for me than others. Although I understood what was happening in lessons like English and history, I found it much easier in subjects like maths and science, where it just wasn't as slow as I moved through. What I liked most about science was the fact that I not only got it, and I felt like I did get it quickly, I understood what the teacher was talking about, but I liked the idea that things connected. I liked the practical stuff, I loved the chemistry, I loved things blowing up, but I loved the idea that you could work out what the next thing was going to happen because you knew something. So by knowing this one thing, I could work out the next thing, and that was really exciting to me, and it made me feel clever, and it made me feel confident, and it made me feel like I could talk about things in the way that I didn't feel in some of the subjects. I had some really great teachers who were really inspiring and knew lots and talked a lot around it, and I found the subject super exciting, and science was the thing I was really interested in. I was really good at maths, I found maths quite easy, I can do good maths in my head, but it was science and the context of science that really got me excited. When I finished secondary school and I did my GCSEs, I went to college and I did my A-levels, and I picked chemistry, physics and maths. And I picked those subjects just because I really liked those subjects. I didn't have a very clear idea about what I wanted to do at university, but I knew it involved those three subjects. And I really enjoyed my time doing my A-levels. I really liked physics. I thought it was really interesting. It was all about how things connect to each other, how things interact, so why some things will push away from each other, why things will come together, why some things break and some things don't break, and why stuff falls down. And with an understanding of physics, I felt like I could understand the whole world, which was pretty amazing, or felt pretty amazing at the time. So when I got to the point where I was picking my university, I started looking at what I could do at university, and I was really torn between doing what would be called a pure physics degree, which is learning more about physics and lots more about physics, and an engineering degree. And engineering is when you use physics in the real world. So it's how you make things from bridges and houses to really tiny things like the circuits inside your mobile phone. I spoke to my family, and I come from a place called Derby, and one of the things in Derby is we have lots of big companies like Rolls-Royce, who build the engines for aeroplanes, companies like Bombardier, who make trains, the carriages that go with the trains, and Toyota, who make the cars. So there's lots of jobs where I was from if you go into engineering. So I thought engineering would be a really good mix of what I really love, which was the physics, understanding the physics, but also having possibility of a job at the end of that, and a really clear understanding in my head of what that job would look like and the sort of companies I could work for. So I went to university and I studied electronic engineering, which is the engineering of very small, which is again things like your phones, computers, everything like that. And I learned lots of different things with that course. I learned how to write computer programs, so how to tell computers what to do. I learned how to build circuits and design things. I learned lots of different stuff, really hard maths, really interesting things about design. It was really interesting, and every afternoon we'd spend 2-3 hours in a laboratory making things or designing things, and we'd do that in a team, and it was really good fun. During the course of my degree, I got the opportunity to work in different jobs, and what I realised was, although I really liked it and I found it really interesting, I wasn't brilliant at it, is the truth. I was good, I was really good, but I wasn't brilliant. And because I wasn't brilliant, I didn't find that I didn't feel brilliant in myself. And just being all right wasn't great for me. So instead, I had to rethink about what I was going to do. So my intention when I left university was that I would join the army and that I would become a soldier, but in the engineers. So I'd help the army build things. And I got through that process, and then just before I left university, I really hurt my knees, which means I couldn't join the army. So I damaged my knees quite badly, so I couldn't do that. So I had to think again about what I wanted to do. At that point, I had a thought about where I could go with jobs, and I knew I loved talking about science, and I hadn't lost that love of talking about science. So I had to think again, what could I do which would allow me to talk about something I loved and work with people I was interested in working with. And so I'd done some summer projects working with young people, and I thought, I like teenagers, I like children, I could work with children, and if I want to work with children and I want to talk about science, I should be a science teacher. So that's what I did. I took my engineering degree and I got another degree to teach science. And that was just 1 year, and it was fab, and I really liked it. It was really weird at first, because finding a way of explaining stuff that you understand, that other people, in a way that other people can understand, is really hard. It really is hard. And those teachers in your classroom right now are incredibly impressive, because they talk to you about not just one thing, because I'm very good at talking about one thing, because they can talk to you about lots of things in a way that you understand. That's really hard. But I really enjoyed it, and it was really exciting because I got to talk to young people who ask brilliant questions all the time and make me think all the time. They're fun, they're interesting, and they teach me stuff all the time. They ask me really good questions, and I have to go out and find new stuff. So I was a science teacher for a really long time, about 15 years, and I loved it. It was great, and I was really lucky. And at the school I worked at, we were doing some really interesting things, not just in the classroom but outside the classroom. So there were clubs and there were fun things you could do outside of the classroom, not just for the students but also for the parents. And so I was really lucky, and I was nominated and won the STEM Teacher of the Year award, and that was in 2012, so that's a long time ago, 9 years ago now. After that, I decided I wanted to go and help other teachers do this. So the school that I worked for worked with lots of other schools, and they asked me if I could help some schools near me, and those schools were in and around London, which is where I was working at the time. And that was fab, and I loved that because you get to go in and you get to talk to lots of different people and find out how they do things and different, and it's always exciting. And I really like the difference, and I really like the exciting bit of working out how to do things, as well as the exciting thing of being able to stand in a classroom and mix some things together and uncover. So that was how I ended up as a teacher, and that was then how I ended up being a teacher who helps teachers. When I was little, I liked lots of different things, including building and making things, and you've probably noticed that from some of the other things I have said. So as a child, I would learn lots, sometimes from books and sometimes from television and sometimes from making things with my family. And I think that was one of the key sort of drivers. As I say, I'm very lucky that members of my family knew about engineering, so could guide me to do that. And I really felt like it was something that I could do and be really successful at. One of the most important things about STEM and STEAM, because it's a really important thing when it comes to science, technology, engineering and maths, is this idea that you have to be creative, and you do. But there is just lots of fun to be had with STEM, and that's one of the great things about my job, is that one day I can be in a laboratory, and we do teach in laboratories at school, and I can be mixing stuff, and things can be exploding and making big bangs and firing things through other things, and it's fun. I mean, it makes me feel like I'm still at school, and that's a wonderful thing. It's just fun and exciting. But also I feel like I'm helping other people to find the things they're good at, and that's one of the things we as teachers do a lot, is we help other people find the things they're good at. We show them that things are exciting and interesting, and we show them what they could be, and that's so important. What I teach now, some of it doesn't even exist when I was at school. And the world has changed so much from me being at school to me being now, and that's because of technology. When I was at school, we barely had computers. I think we had computers when I was in year 10, and we certainly didn't use them like we do now. First time I had a mobile phone, I was 18, and there wasn't really the internet until I went to university. Now that sounds bonkers, but I'm not that old. It wasn't that long ago. And this has all been changes through science and technology. Now I was really lucky because I was either teaching it or at university when it was all happening, so I got a good understanding and found it quite easy to do. You guys are even luckier because you grew up just using technology. But as time goes on, things change, and they change really fast. And if you have an understanding of science and technology, engineering and maths, and you are creative, so can involve the arts in that, you can be extremely successful. When you look at the people who have made big contributions, have changed the way we see the world and the way we do things, that's usually come through technology. And that's why STEM is so important. I've taught lots of different people over the years, and I do talk a lot about how it was different for me being a girl and teaching